Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Otsego City Council. Tonight is Monday, January 26th. Audra, can you have the record show that our city attorney is online, it appears? Our city planner is present, our city engineer is present, Councilmember Dunlap is present, Councilmember Gady is absent, Councilmember Tanner is present, Councilmember Lund is present, along with our city administrator. At this time, I'll ask you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our first item of business this evening is our open forum. This is the portion of the meeting where you can come to the podium, state your name and address, and limit comments to 5 minutes or less. Would anyone like to speak at this time?
Kathy Coles, 15613 90th Street Northeast, bringing you my monthly picture of no offense at the grocery store next door, just so that it's on record. We have made some minimal progress, and Dan will let you know about that. But here's the
Thank you.
Mayor, Coburn's had contacted the city regarding an escrow that from their expansion project. They were advised that that escrow will not be refunded until the fence issue is resolved. That was mid-December, and we let Ms. Coles know that they had reached out and were in contact, but we haven't received a response. So we'll follow up with them now that the holidays are over.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, we will close the open forum and move on to consider our agenda for approval. Does anyone have anything that they would like to add or delete at this time?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Ryan?
I'd like to bring down item 3.3 to make that 6.1.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, Stan?
Staff would like to remove item 3.20 from the agenda. We'll have a revision to the ordinance and place it on a future agenda.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Ryan?
I move to approve the agenda as written or as amended.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Corey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to our consent agenda. A motion would be in order.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Ryan?
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Corey. Is there any discussion? Audra, you have the items removed. Thank you. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to item 4.1 is the Great River Center of Otsego 8th edition. I'll turn this over to the city planner.
Thank you, Mayor. Boss Swim School had submitted application for subdivision of an outlot east of the Great Good Day Car Wash, adjacent to Parson Avenue and 85th Street. So the applications include preliminary plat, vacation of existing drainage and utility easements. They've also submitted a sketch plan illustrating how the lot is proposed to be developed with a 9,600 square foot swim school, along with a potential future 11,900 square foot retail building. Once the preliminary plat is processed, pending city council consideration, they would have future applications for both for final plat to establish the lot, and then also site and building plan review, which is subject to review by the Planning Commission and approval of the council. So the site again is at the northwest corner of Parson Avenue and 85th Street. Comprehensive plan guides the site for commercial land uses, and it's zoned within the PUD district for Great River Center of Otsego, which allows B1 retail district uses. So the instructional class indoor recreation use for the swim school would be allowed as a permitted use. Again, subject only to site and building plan review. The area is developing with service-oriented businesses, the car wash immediately to the west, 2 daycares, a real estate office, a tire shop, and a bank to the north. The Village Apartments is located directly east of the site. They are submitting application for their second phase, so they'll build their building up to Parson Avenue across from it. This is a good use for this site. It's going to attract regional patrons as well as provide a unique service in Otsego that will be well suited to the growing community. The preliminary plat is pretty straightforward. This is one existing outlot that was platted when the car wash developed. It's just under 3 acres in area, just over 300 feet in width. The PUD district doesn't have minimum lot area or width requirements, but these both exceed the requirements that would apply in the base B1 zoning district. And as shown on the sketch plan, obviously they can accommodate development of the site in compliance with the zoning ordinance. There is no right-of-way dedication with the plat, having previously dedicated that with the Great River Center addition and any amendments with the car wash plat as well. City attorney or city engineers reviewed the utility plans. There were pipes in the ground to serve the site for development. So those are basically plug and play type operations. Stormwater is handled regionally within the development, although they will have to provide some infiltration within their site. The easement shown on the northeast and south lot lines of the outlot will be vacated and replaced by new ones dedicated with the final plat. There is no park dedication within Great River Center. The original developer satisfied those requirements with trail connections through that. And then there would be a development contract with approval of the final plat. Again, they provided the sketch plan illustrating how they would develop the site. The proposed swim school is at the southeast corner of the building. The future retail building at the northeast corner. The important thing with the layout is that they push the building over towards Parson Avenue, mirroring what all the structures on both sides of the roadway between 85th and 87th have done, consistent with the PUD design guidelines. They also showed that they have more parking than required by the zoning ordinance. And as I said, at the Planning Commission, anyone that's been to a Foss swim school knows the importance of that. That was the one item that the Planning Commission did discuss is there enough parking on site and will the access work for the site? And we addressed that. We're confident that basically they have enough parking. They're the experts. They're exceeding our requirements. So we don't have any cause to question that. The site does have multiple access points and circulation should be adequate to distribute traffic based on the capacity of each road. So everything else will be reviewed in greater detail as part of the site and building plan application. When that comes forward, the Planning Commission expressed their interest in looking forward to that. So the Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on January 20th to consider the application. There were no public comments. Mr. Dwayne Boris of Foss Swim School was present to address the Planning Commission's questions. After their discussion, they voted 6-0 to recommend approval. That approval would be subject to 11 conditions that city staff has presented in resolution 2026-08 for your consideration.
Thank you. Does the applicant wish to comment?
Hi, my name is Dwayne Boris. I'm with Foss Swim School. Again, just want to kind of echo the comments I brought up last Tuesday. Dan has been more than helpful. We greatly look forward to hopefully receiving your approval and moving forward. We do have swim schools, as was brought up quite frequently about Maple Grove, but we are looking where our current schools are with Maple Grove and Blaine. This is a way to serve even further out and beyond. And we have plenty of current customers that already live north of here. So we know we're going to make capacity at the other schools as well as pick up the customers here. So we're really excited about being part of the Otsego community.
Great. All right. Maybe if you want to stay there, so now we'll turn this over to the council. If they have any questions for you or for staff. Corey?
Thank you, Mr. Boris. I'm really excited about this. I mean, my kids went to Foss. I know what a good place it is and how popular it is. I think what excites me more is what may come with it. Families coming in, triggering, food and retail, and so I think it's wonderful, and so many young families here in Otsego. So,
No, agreed. We've done a lot of due diligence about demographics and the expansion, and yeah, this makes a lot of sense for us to get here as families continue to build here. That we'll be able to provide them with the service we do.
are you guys based out of Minnesota?
Yeah, we're Eden Prairie.
Okay, I think you have 13 different locations.
We actually have 33
in Minnesota.
We have 12 here in Minnesota, 9 in Chicago, 5 in St. Louis, 4 in Denver, and then 1 in Fargo, 1 in Des Moines, and 1 in Madison.
Wow,
Awesome.
very good. Well, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. And then if there's no questions or comments, motions, Corey?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2026-08, approving a preliminary plat for the Great Rivers Center of Otsego 8th edition.
Second.
Motion by Corey, seconded by Michelle. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank
We're
you so much.
excited to have
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
We'll see
you.
you soon with some plans.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Great.
you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 5.1 is fire department staffing, and we will turn this over to our interim fire chief.
That Jason was taking it.
You got up too, and I.
Yeah, I know, I was confused too. Mayor, council, thanks for your time tonight. We have a presentation that we're gonna go through, so Adam and I will coordinate this together. He's like Vanna.
Yes, thank you for that.
So,
The hair.
well, in many ways he is, but in many ways he isn't. So when I first talked to city staff back in August about this interim fire chief's position, it was gonna be short term. This is my third one, and I know that we don't know how long it's gonna be till we get into the position. But when we first talked in August and I started in September, we were talking about trying to start the recruitment process for the future fire chief late last year. We slowed that process down a little bit in the hopes that we could get some shared services, fire district discussions going. We've talked to a lot of our potential partners, and that's just simply something you can't rush. I mean, it's got to be something you do right, and you take your time. You got to have willing partners that it's the right time for them. It's the right time for us. So it was good that we slowed down, and there was a lot of work that we did in the last few months, but it's getting to the point where we really need to hire your future leader. Let's see, the previous timeline that we had in your, I think the previous director presented to you last year, a timeline of when to hire people this year in 2026. And it's just not enough time. We'll kind of walk through that tonight as to why we kind of want to move up some of those hiring dates. And again, we've done a lot in the last several months, but now there's a lot of decisions that really need to be part of that future leader's decisions and in that person's team. And it really starts a dominoes effect. So the fire chief should be the easiest one. We had that position, it was an approved position. It's nothing new. It just was called director before. We changed the title of fire chief, same pay, same position essentially. But again, it starts to create the domino effect. So what we're hoping in the next several weeks is that we present to you the idea of hiring the fire chief, then that fire chief's 3 full-time captains, and get those captains on board sooner so they can play a role in helping train and recruit the part-time firefighters. That's probably the most timely thing. And again, I'll go through each position individually. But when you look at recruiting in your community, trying to find out what the true interest level is for a part-time position, typically, if you talk to any of the cities around us or any of the cities in the state, you might get a lot of people that are interested in part-time positions until they really find out what the time commitment is, the training commitment, and then the ongoing commitment from there. So the sooner we can get going on recruiting part-time firefighters, the better. So we'll know where we're at. We could have firefighters that come through the door from other cities that have a lot of training and experience, or we could have citizens that have no training. And that really makes a big difference on how long it's going to take to get them ready to respond. But typically, and again, I'll go through this in a little bit more detail, but once you get a part-time firefighter through the door, if they have no experience, it takes 5 months to do the firefighter training and 2 months to do the first responder training. So they're all ready to go. In the previous plan, the previous director had us hiring the part-time staff in September. And if you start doing the math, that's just not going to work. So working with the training departments that would come in and help us with training, we really need to start this training by June. My recommendation is you obviously need the chief on board before that time. And I'd like to see the 3 captains on board before that time so that our captains can assist in our training of our firefighters, which I think is critical. So again, kind of got the pyramids of the different positions there. We'll talk about getting the fire chief on board, hopefully by April. The captains would be suggested in May. Part-time firefighters, that's the critical one. They have to start in June to be able to be ready by the first of the year of 2027. That's coming up quick. And then the full-time firefighters, not as critical, but I was at Metro Fire Chiefs today and I kind of was doing a little poll of fire departments that have recently hired full-time firefighters, and full-time firefighters are going to come through the door experience. They're going to come through the door either as part-time firefighters at other communities or full-time firefighters at other communities. But still you want to train them to your equipment, your city, your standards. And that usually takes 4 to 6 weeks is what I'm learning from other departments. If you go to the next slide, fire chief's responsibilities. Again, what you need now is to get your future leader on board. Hopefully it's a long-term leader, somebody that's gonna be here longer than the previous director and your current interim chief. You need somebody that's gonna be on board, hopefully for 5+ years and get a good foundation set. There's a lot of things that we've done, but now that person needs to weigh in on some of the operational pieces that we've been holding off on that aren't critical yet, but they're getting to be critical from a timing standpoint. Already mentioned it's a budget position. It was budgeted for last, I believe, since 2022. I believe you had the director or fire chief in your budget of some sort. The fire chief obviously continues to build on the community, work with city council, city staff, operational decisions, plays in a role of selecting the full-time captains, engaging and attracting part-time firefighters. That's gonna be critical in our community. And I think if I was somebody that lived in the community, I really want to know who I'm going to be working for, who the fire chief's going to be. So hopefully our goal is, if we get your approval tonight, is to post that position yet this week. I've already been doing some soft recruiting with the Metro Chiefs and Minnesota State Chiefs, letting them know that hopefully that position is forthcoming soon. This is a pretty aggressive timeline, but we'd like to close the process in February, start interviews in late February and March, pre-employment stuff, and hopefully get that person to start in April. Again, pretty aggressive with city government. It takes time to go through all those steps. With any of the fire positions, all the fire positions from part-time firefighter to the chief, you want to make sure you're doing background check. You want to make sure you're doing a physical to NFPA standards, and you want to make sure you're doing a psychological on all the positions. And all those things take time just to get done. You can go to the next slide, please. Fire captains. So in the old plan, it was planned to have the captain start in November 1st of this year. Again, that's pretty unrealistic to have your future leader starting in November. There's still a lot of work to be done. There's policies and procedures. There's new equipment that's arriving. For example, our 2 Pierce trucks are going to be arriving in June. And within 30 days, we get free training from the factory. So the idea would be that captains would become the trainers, to train everybody else, kind of train the trainers. And again, if we can get our 3 captains on board and have them involved with training our new firefighters, it'll save us money we use an outside company to do the initial firefighter training. It would be on weeknights at our station, which would be kind of cool, using our training props and our equipment versus sending them to another city. But if we can get the captains on board, it not only starts to build that team camaraderie, but it also saves us money because we don't have to hire so many outside instructors. So again, our goal is to hopefully have those captains starting in May, which means that we'll come back in February to ask for permission to start that process. And if you can go to the next slide, please. Part-time firefighters. Again, initially this was planned to have them hired in September. Working with the company that does a lot of training in this area, that's just not realistic. They need the whole 5 months. And that's, if you can think about it, I mean, that's folks that are coming in for these positions have full-time jobs, so we can't train during the day. This is training 2 nights a week. That's pretty aggressive throughout the summer. So that's quite a commitment on part of future part-time firefighters. They'd get done with their firefighter training in October and go right into first responder training with a line of staff at our station with our staff, which would be, again, kind of neat. And they'd get that done right before Christmas. So they'd be ready to go in January. But you can see how critical the timing is of this now. And if you can go to the next slide, please. And then the full-time firefighters, it's an interesting market. I know I've mentioned this before, but the metro area, there's over 100 positions that were created this year, partially because of federal grants that cities got, and then partially because of cities starting to switch more to full-time staffing. So it's a very aggressive market right now. we don't want to start advertising too soon and not hiring people because we'll waste a lot of time creating a list, and more than likely a lot of those people won't be around anymore. But having them start in December, which was the initial plan, is not enough time. The other critical part of firefighters, back when I started in the 80s, it was literally go pick out a set of turnout gear. It was long coat and boots that you pulled up, and it was kind of small, medium, large. Now, because of OSHA standards, every firefighter has to be custom fitted for their turnout gear. Once they're custom fitted for their turnout gear, depending on the brand, it's 60 to 90 days to get that gear. So start to do the math. If we didn't hire firefighters till December, it would take that much longer. There are companies that rent turnout gear, so for short term you can do it. They really recommend that. That's good for training, but you really don't want to be using it for actual response. So what we're recommending is getting the full-time firefighters on board in that October-November timeframe. Go to the next slide, please. So next slides, several of them look at just what the year looks like. Because again, once you think we're not almost into February, we have plenty of time, but once you start to play this out, so this first one looks at the full year, and then the next one just breaks it down into quarters. But I'll start with the fire chief, the recruitment process, the pre-employment process, and then getting that person on board. Same with the captains. And the key to me is that part-time firefighters. That's really the main part of your fire department, 20 part-time firefighters. It's critical that we have that process starting in no later than March, and going through all the hiring process and recruiting and hiring and testing, and having them start in the first part of June to get the training done. And then the full-time firefighters, and then so it also shows training. It's one thing to get all the state certifications, for firefighter and hazmat and all the different certifications somebody needs, and the first responder. But then, if these folks are coming here and they don't know Otsego, we need to make sure they know Otsego. We need to make sure that city staff knows them. They know their way around. They know our policies and procedures. They know our equipment. So there's all that orientation of how we do stuff in Otsego. The next couple of slides, I think we can go through quick. Good job, Vanna. And then key considerations. So time sensitive factors. Again, I was intended to be short term. You really need to get that permanent chief in this role now. Training, mentioned all of that. It's a huge liability if we don't do training properly, especially for the part-time firefighters. If we don't properly train and equip our firefighters and they go out and do something that gets them hurt, or some of our citizens hurt, that, as you can imagine, is a huge liability. And they have to have all their state certifications. I mentioned the turnout gear. I think the big thing is, and I really like this, it's training with our city equipment at our fire station. It's pretty exciting when you go through the station now and see all the training features that are starting to be able to be seen in the station with our fire leadership team. So instead of sending the firefighters out to another city, or you can send them to Century College, you could send them to there's several colleges, but training them here at our station in our training room and using our live training props and taking them outside and training with our trucks. That's just getting that much further ahead. Plus, it really puts the station in service this summer for training, which is pretty exciting. Ongoing items, minimum staffing. It's a great subject. I mean, 4 is by far where you want to be for 4 people on a truck. Unfortunately, in Minnesota, it's the reality is a lot of departments are running with 2 or 3 people. Is that right? Does it meet the 2 in, 2 out? No. There's transitional firefighting. I can get into a lot of details of that. The goal here, I think the thing to remember here is this is your foundation. This is your building on the future. This isn't the end game for the city of Otsego with the fire department. I know there's discussions about, do you need another station over on the west side of the community? You do. When you need that depends on a lot of different factors. The goal here would be, and we did this in Shakopee, is to have 3 full-time firefighters on and try to supplement that with 1 part-time firefighter. So ideally, you'd always try to have 4 on. Is it going to happen all the time? No. Even with full-time staff, you have people that are sick on paternity leaves, the new leave that we take in Minnesota now, training. Firefighters have to do ongoing training. They can't do that always on shift. So sometimes they're gone on training. So you're not always going to have even the 3 full-time people on. But the goal would be to try to have 4 people on as often as possible. And you have to remember that yes, you're staffing with two or three or four, but you still have your part-time people that you're paging out for those major calls. You're paging them out for structure fires, no different than any of the other departments around us. Shared services conversations. I know I've said it many times. It's the wave of the future in Minnesota. We had discussions after the Metro Chiefs meeting today about shared services and how we really in Minnesota need to start having serious conversations about shared services, fire districts, whatever term you want to use. I hope the state's doing an assessment on fire services in Minnesota. We have a little under 800 fire departments. That's a lot of fire departments. And I'm hoping out of that assessment comes the realization that the state needs to start to encourage fire departments to look at this. How do you do that? Maybe financially. Do you have some incentives, grants? I think there's a lot of different opportunities that the state could do to help fire departments and cities decide that might be worth discussing. Fire department consolidations. We're not done talking about it. You guys aren't done talking about it. When we're looking for the fire chief of the future, we need to make sure that person's on board with collaborative, not only continuing the team building that we are working on here with our public safety partners, but being collaborative and wanting to talk about shared services and wanting to continue those subjects. And then, the Citygate had the little memo attached to the packet tonight. One of the things that they suggest, and I would strongly suggest you do it, is having Citygate do a small roadmap for the future. They weren't hired to do a full study. A full study is $50,000 to $75,000, depending on what you have them study. But I think it would be good to spend some of the money that we set aside for Citygate to at least set up a small roadmap for the future. So you guys have no surprises coming up. You kind of know what the future holds. We've talked about a fire marshal and how important that is with your growing community, with all the development going and honestly, some of the redevelopment or the remodeling going on with some of your existing buildings. A fire marshal would be an important aspect. An emergency manager would be an important aspect. So I think having Citygate just do a small roadmap for the future would be very helpful for you and the future fire chief. Administrative support. There's a lot of different options down the road. And then the other thing to bear in mind is once you are a fire department, so you have to be able to get your fire department identification number, you have to be able to have trucks, staff, station, and have the ability to respond to calls. Once you can do that, you can get your fire department identification number. Once you get that, then you can apply for federal grants like the SAFER grants, which is staffing grants, federal grants. And Minnesota's been because we relied so long on volunteer staff by so many departments, Minnesota's been getting a lot of SAFER grants, a lot of big SAFER grants. And it just shows you that volunteer model, which has been something I loved my whole life, is slowly starting to fall apart. And we need to look at options down the road. Utilizing staff. I think, again, it'd be a big benefit to have your fire chief and your captain on board for recruiting part-time firefighters. I also think it'll work good for full-time firefighters because wherever you hire your captains from, they may know of staff that would want to come and work for those captains or the fire chief. Mentioned the fire captains can aid in training. We got the fire truck training coming up in June. The two Pierce fire trucks, the ladder truck just started being built, I think 2 weeks ago now. And it's scheduled to be done in May. It'll be delivered to us by middle of June. Ladder truck's by far the most complicated piece of equipment to train on. And again, there's a lot of things that the captain should play a part of. When I mentioned the equipment that's operational decisions, self-contained breathing apparatus, there's like 3 major brands. They all work fine. They all have different features. It really depends on the crews, what they like to wear. That should have a lot of influence on that. Rescue equipment, turnout gear brand. I mean, all that stuff we could order, but it's really one of those things that if you're going to be the user, you want to have some say on it, some buy-in on it. We still got a lot of work to do on policies and procedures. And again, we're going to have a beautiful station done this June and some apparatus coming, but that doesn't mean they're ready to go yet. So we still got a lot of work to do on the trucks and the equipment once they're turned over to us. I mentioned the end part, and I think we can go to next steps. So tonight we're hoping for approval of the job description of the fire chief and authorized recruitment. Again, we'd start that soon. I've been doing some some recruiting, calling people that I think would be good for the role. Well, hopefully we'll come back to you in February with the approval to go with the fire captain's job description and authorize recruitment and the part-time firefighters at the same time. And then later this summer, whoever the fire chief is would come back for authorization for the full-time firefighters. I stand for questions.
Thank you. Council questions? Chief Scott?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
so I know I might be jumping the gun a little bit here because you talked about we'll come back in February for the other positions, but if we're bumping up hiring some of these positions earlier and getting them the equipment earlier, what's the financial impact? How much more are we going to spend?
Mayor, council, that's something Chief Scott and I have been working on, and we're trying to find that right wage scale for the Otsego Fire Department. So we're gathering data from other departments that have full-time staffing and what those look like. And we are awaiting the scoring of the captain job description right at this point. So we're kind of waiting to see where that falls on our wage scale. But Councilmember Dunlap is right. The budget did not account for the hiring timeline proposed this evening. There will be some impact, and staff would certainly bring some options for the council as part of that consideration. But something that we would bring before we ask you to make that decision.
Other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
so I would imagine the kind of the reconfiguration of the budgeting for the timeline change is going to include some of the offsets too of the training that we don't have to pay for outside of the community and that type of thing as well. I would imagine that would be a part of that whole reevaluation. So we can see the full picture for as it is.
Mayor, council can work with Chief Scott to determine if there are savings from having the department staff do some of the training, what that would be. It certainly is not going to offset the entire schedule change. But.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Bray.
Chief Scott, thank you for the presentation. Would the interviews be conducted by you and then City 8 and then some point the council has presented that, or would we be part of the interviewing process?
Great question, Councilmember Tanner. You're referencing for the fire chief, is that correct?
Yep.
So Citygate wouldn't play a role in it. What we would recommend is definitely having some of your neighboring fire chiefs involved in the process. They really need to be on board with the type of leader you select. And definitely mayor and council would be involved with it as well. So we're kind of working out some of the details of that right now, but we definitely have reached out to Chief Bolin and we're looking at potentially St. Michael, some of our partners within our county to be part of that. And then definitely mayor and council, because you have to be happy with that selection as well.
That sounds great.
Mike, I have a question, well, kind of a comment. Again, thank you for this information tonight, but is there also going to be an option? We had requests from people to kind of give a roadmap of where we're at and what the plans are for the station and what this looks like. We had talked about that back in December. And so I'm hoping that this information tonight could be presented to the public so that they can kind of see things like in an open house style or however you'd like to set that up. But is that an option that you're able to do? I know that obviously you're going to also be busy looking to recruit a fire chief or an ex-fire chief, but is that something that you're still able to provide for us?
So staff has discussed options of, having an open house type feel. We've discussed it with Citygate, and just with the timeline right now, my suggestion is not to put the brakes on to have that open house, but rather, my suggestion would be to get the fire chief on board and then have more of an open house, kind of meet the fire chief, And then, I picture more, hopefully the station's further along by then, actually you're gonna have the open house at the station, have some of the equipment on display, understand where we're going. And you know what, a great opportunity to try to recruit people from the community to get involved as part-time firefighters.
Any other questions or comments?
So for what you're asking for tonight, Madam Mayor, if I have a question, what you're asking for tonight is approval to start posting, doing a job posting and looking for a candidate. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're hiring anyone or pulling the trigger on any financial component. I'm just trying to create a little clarity. So everyone understands what we're getting into when we're making the approval tonight.
Yep, correct. Yeah, so tonight we're asking for permission to start the process to recruit, advertise for your future fire chief, which again, I mean, Councilmember Dunlap brings up a great point about the budget being adjusted for the other positions, which is something we're going to work through. But this position was in the budget. It's not a new position. The money's there. And again, fire chief's positions there's been a lot of turnover in the metro area. So I think the sooner we can start doing that, the better. And again, we're just at that crucial time right now. So long answer to your question, but yes, we're asking for permission to start that process.
Yeah.
And definitely we'd still have to come back to you for approval of whoever that final candidate is, and you guys would be involved in that process.
I appreciate the detail. Thank you.
Corey?
Yes, if no more discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve the fire chief's job description and to authorize recruitment.
Second.
Motion by Corey, seconded by Michelle. Is there any discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Ray.
I guess I just want to say I appreciate the memo that we got from Citygate. But there is sort of one glaring contradiction when I read it. So I want to read one of the sentences here. While shared services are a growing trend in Minnesota, failure to have a comprehensive plan in place before implementing can lead to costly failures. That's on page 2. A couple paragraphs later, it says, we recommend the city consider establishing a roadmap or a master plan for likely future steps in their fire department, including the hiring of a fire marshal, fire code, plan checking duties, which is critical for a fast-growing community like Otsego. The reason I think that those two statements are contradictory is because we don't have a plan right now. The city of Orono had a fire department for about 8 months before they decided to disband that department and seek a joint fire department with the cities that they used to contract with. We have 11 months, which is roughly 22 council meetings by my count. I think that's the path we should be on. I think spending more money until we have a plan is a dangerous step, as Citygate has pointed out. The thing that I will say I'm not really happy about, thing I'm very frustrated about, in fact, is that we had a fire chief for 3 years and we do not have a plan. And that's not the fault of anyone at the lectern right now. But I do think it means we need to stop what we're doing, figure out what fire service looks like for the city of Otsego, and not spend another dime until we figure it out. So I'm going to be a no vote on this one.
Right. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-1.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 6.1. Ryan, you had pulled item 3.3.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I oppose this action because our city is able to receive excellent service from our existing contract providers at a price point that is cost efficient for the taxpayer. If approved, these new charges will bring the total cost of owning our own fire department to $13 million $380,553.71. The money that we have spent so far would have paid for almost 10 years of excellent fire service from our neighbors.
Thank you. Corey,
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application number 13 in the amount of $1,512,200.76 for work completed on the fire station project.
Second.
motion by Corey, seconded by Michelle. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-1. Next, we have our city council reports and updates. Heritage Preservation Commission, Corey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Heritage Preservation Commission did not meet last month, lack of quorum. And that's all we got.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation, Michelle.
Yes, we reviewed some of the proposals for the park equipment for Lily Pond. And great presentations. A selection was made to move forward. And that design is continuing, and bids the documents will be sent out for bid here soon. More progress is planned to be made for Prairie Park. Plus a bunch of other maintenance and stuff that's going on. Lots of usage of the ice rink, which is great.
Not this week.
No, absolutely. Prior to this week.
Thank you. Ryan, Planning Commission.
Mayor, the Planning Commission met last week to review the Foss Swim School application that was on the council agenda tonight. They also reviewed potential updates to the accessory building and fence ordinances. Those updates will come to the council at a later date. The next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 2nd.
Thank you. Public Safety, Councilmember Gady is absent, so I will cover updates with that. We had Alina present. We also had updates from Sergeant Altman's and updates from the chief, which kind of led us to what his information was tonight. Prior to that, Ryan and I were part of our first fire advisory commission. I think that's our name, is what we decided. So we had a chance to meet with Adam, Mike, and Sabrina to get an update of where we were at and conversations with other service providers that the city is working with.
You guys have plans then to meet with the other chiefs, or how?
We are anticipating that. We have left that to staff. That is our goal to, we had asked them to reach out and hopefully we can get a date on the books. We do not have one as of yet. I think that's a fair statement.
All fair. Yes. Well done.
But the plan is probably that we will meet ahead of public safety in February, or if not sooner, that we will call those advisory meetings.
Yes, Mayor, Council, no defined meeting schedule at this point, but with a lot of work left to do in 2026, I would imagine there will be a monthly meeting perhaps. So.
And we'll give an update at that time. All right, we are still under city council reports and updates. Does anyone have anything? All right, we will move on to staff reports and updates. Item 7.1, consider scheduling a special city council meeting to discuss the 2026 street renewal project.
Mayor, Council, thank you. At the most recent Public Works Subcommittee meeting, the two elected members and the rest of the subcommittee reviewed the 2026 street renewal project. It was advised that a special meeting of the full council would be beneficial. It is a project in an industrial area, and there are two different alternatives for the type of improvements that can be done. And also there are some funding things as far as the assessment policy and looking at the estimated costs that the group thought it would be good for the council to have at their discretion and review and discuss how you want to move forward. So staff would propose a 5:30 meeting on February 23rd. That would be a night of a normal regular council meeting. There are no other special agenda topics for that evening at this point. So
Would 5:30 be?
yes,
Would work.
5:30 would be the
Yeah.
recommendation. Yes.
Okay. Does that work for everyone?
Yep.
That works.
Okay, then I will call a special meeting for February 23rd at 5:30 to discuss street renewal projects.
Second.
Motion by Jessica, seconded by Corey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, and we'll go to Adam.
Yes, thank you. Mayor, council, I did send out a survey last week to you to survey dates for availability on the previously discussed goal setting process. So there were 3 dates that did align for all 5 of you. Staff would prefer February 26th. That is a Thursday.
Okay.
The proposed time was a 5 p.m. start, setting a work session. Staff would post notice of quorum. For that, we would not be asking you to make any decisions or take any action. This is goal setting. Depending on how that process materializes, then we would organize your goals and bring them back to you for future adoption as your 2026 goal setting. So again, the recommended date from staff standpoint would be Thursday, February 26th at 5 p.m.
Okay.
That's okay. Staff will post that on the website as a notice of quorum. And
We all said yes, it
Yeah.
works. That works.
all right. I will send out a reminder for that. And then last thing I have, Mayor, is just a reminder, the I-94 Corridor Coalition has their legislative preview breakfast next Friday morning.
Mhm.
I know that does interfere with most of your attendance at the league training that day, but staff will be present and can update you at a later date.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion for that February 26th meeting then?
Mayor, it's probably, yeah, sure, why not?
I could do that.
Okay.
So, Madam Mayor, I move for a special meeting on February 26th at 5 p.m. For the council to discuss goal settings.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Corey. We're meeting for February 26th at 5 p.m. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Adam, I saw a picture. You guys must have went to the other grand opening at the condo suite.
Oh, yeah, Mayor Council, in my weekly update last week, there was a ribbon cutting hosted by the I-94 West Chamber of Commerce at the condo suites of Otsego. Good attendance from the chamber representatives. They also had their first business owner that has purchased one of the contractor condos. And we'll be moving into that here shortly. So hopefully that's a trend that we see businesses coming to Otsego and using that space. So
Did they list which business purchased it?
yes, Mayor, it was Glasstastic. So small business, I think they said 5 employees. They do automotive, they do home window repairs and a slew of other things window related. So
Ryan and I must have not did too big of a shebang with our ribbon cutting because they had a second one.
yes, nothing else, Mayor.
Thank you. Audra?
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to let everybody know that the advisory commission interviews have been scheduled for February 12th. There are 8 candidates. We are still waiting for 1 to confirm. And just, there were 9, but 1 did withdraw. And then just the last thing I had, since nobody mentioned it, the Winter Festival is February 7th, starting at 10 a.m.
We'll all be at our league training.
Did we get any applicants for OHPC?
None actually signed up for OHPC, but that'd be a question to ask those that you're interviewing because there's not enough spots for everybody that did apply.
Thank you. Dave?
Nothing to report. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Dan?
Mayor, nothing to report.
Ron?
Nothing else.
Okay. Sergeant Altmans?
I've been sitting in the back watching the video and watching somebody dance. Do you want to say what's up?
No.
I've been watching you watch the video of you dancing, so it's pretty fun to watch. We're talking about really boring stuff, so I appreciate that stuff. So thank you. Kind of business as usual for us. Like I said, we've had a lot of our in-house trainings. The SWAT team, we went down to a building down in the metro that's a big vacant open building that's been for sale for about 8 years. That's a huge office building that we get to go train in, which is super beneficial for us to have that type of building accessible for us. So otherwise, like our medical training, we always do here in January. So we just went through that and some of our use of force things. So it's good to get those out of the way when it's really cold like this. For the most part, the cold hasn't affected us too badly as far as call volume goes. Sometimes it just adds different variables to the calls. And so it's just a different set of challenges when it's freezing out and you can't spend more than 5 minutes out, maybe on like a DUI stop or something like that. We have to be very good on the articulation of what we're observing out there, because quite frankly, you can't rely on anything out there when it's that cold. If you're shivering, well, you can't use that as, part of your report. So, otherwise, like I said, business as usual for us this time of year. I guess a couple thank yous that I gotta publicly do real quick. Ben Boyd with the city, the IT, he helped us out with our internet. We had some issues with our internet today, and he did get me set up, or he just ended up, I think more out of frustration, just said, all right, here's just your own Wi-Fi network. I appreciate that. A lot of the guys have been appreciative that we got our stuff back up and running, and I have my computer back up and running on our own network. So that's super beneficial for us. Maybe we're a little whiny, I don't know. So one of the detectives that's been working on a couple cases in the area. I can't really go into detail on the case. Detective Blake Lemire been working pretty hard on a couple cases up here that are really tough cases. So I appreciate his hard work on that. And finally, Mayor, I shared a story with you kind of over email here. So kind of a sometimes I come up here, I'm all doom and gloom, right? That's never fun. So what started off as pretty one of those calls. It just kind of tugs at your heart a little bit. So with the cold temperatures, there was a family that got displaced from their home because their furnace went out in one of those days that was like -20. So they spent some time in the hotel because that's all they could really get to is something very local, and they had to get out of their house like really quick because there was some concerns there. As all parents, I guess, would know, maybe when you're sitting in a very small hotel room with your entire family for an extended period of time without your normal amenities, frustration maybe gets the best of some people. This one boiled over a little bit more than we would usually see, and there was some drinking involved, etc. So we ended up getting a call and having to problem solve a few different things. One of those resolutions ended up being, why don't we all just separate for a little bit? So we ended up basically helping out the family by driving the dad away, but the kids, the 3 kids that were there, were just seeing the cops showing up after mom and dad fighting, and an officer basically taking dad away. That's how they viewed it. They didn't recognize, hey, just kind of adult things. Hey, things happen. We're just trying to problem solve. I was able to look at the kids and I go, you guys kind of had to go out of the house pretty quick, huh? And they're like, yeah. Like, so you guys didn't get any toys when you left, right? The Otsego Lions, and through the Gifts Anonymous program that they have, it's typically just every Christmas, right?
Yep.
So the mayor typically grabs a bunch of those for us for the sheriff's office that we keep. I keep a handful of things in my squad car. So in this case, I literally was able to go run down to my squad car, and I got lucky. 2 sets of Hot Wheels for the 2 boys, and I had a little build a princess thing that I kept back there. You know how many questions I get asked when people in the backseat of my squad car and they see a build a princess thing back there. And so I was happy to give that one away. But that was crazy because the mom, mom's tearing up, and the kids all of a sudden the demeanor completely changed on that. So that really took a experience. I think that the kids were going to have that core memory of something really, really negative and really turn it to a positive, because we have that availability through the Otsego Lions and everything that they do for us on that. So that was really cool. So big thanks to the Otsego Lions and the mayor for setting that up for us. So that's a big deal. That kind of saved our butts, quite frankly, on that one for the future even. So
We're glad to help.
So other than that, I think that's all I have.
Jason, did Wright County get involved in that abduction in Zimmerman at all?
So one of the captains for the Sherburne County Sheriff's Office contacted Sergeant Cotton. Sergeant Cotton's in charge of our canine program. Who's the right person to call, quite frankly. He's a regional expert. He does a lot of the training for dogs. I mean, if there's, he's probably got been a part of the training for like half the dogs, canine units in the state at this point. They had contacted him, said, this is what we have, and this is the scenario. In typical Sergeant Cotton fashion, he says, I don't know what I can do, but I'm on my way right now. He grabbed the dog. He was out the door. He made a call to one of the other canine units that was working that day and said, I don't care what you're doing. You're dropping it. We're going up there now. So they went up there. Sergeant Cotton also has good connections with the North Star Rescue Group, which has search and rescue dogs, has drones, different things, specifically a volunteer organization that does rescue things. So if they went up there, like I said, Sergeant Cotton would, within a second, he was out the door, had his stuff on. That was his day off.
Wow.
That was absolutely his day off. He's taking a phone call. He's out the door in -20 weather, and he's up there in 20 minutes. So, yeah, something like that. That is absolutely something that Sheriff Derringer is like, get up there. If you guys can help in any capacity, get up there.
That's good. That's quite a outpouring between the communities and people just dropping whatever they're doing and heading up there. So
yeah. When he was up there, he said, Sergeant Cotton specifically said, he was like, I'm not really the pulling your heartstrings type of guy, but he's like, that was very touching to see like how many people kind of, and in one of those moments goes, I know they're not asking us to come, but the entire community was like, we're still showing up kind of thing. So they were putting in some work when it was, like I said, 20 below, and there was like 200 cops in some capacity, law enforcement, and all the different agencies. So
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have anything? Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Stay warm. All right. If no one else has anything, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Don't move.
Second.
Motion by Corey, seconded by Michelle. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. The meeting is ended. Thank you all for attending.